Tech companies around the world are trying to clean up the way they source cobalt, a key ingredient in batteries for smartphones, laptops, and electric cars. But conditions remain hazardous in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is where about 2/3 of the world's cobalt is mined.
We traveled to Kolwezi, the cobalt boom town of Congo. These guys are climbing into these holes, straddling railroad ties and hauling up tons of cobalt with makeshift rope and no proper safety equipment or support whatsoever.
In January 2016, a human rights report alerted the world to how cobalt is often dug up by hand under unsafe, sometimes deadly conditions by subsistence miners, including children. Pressure began mounting on the businesses that use the metal in their products, since even suppliers that mine cobalt industrially often buy ore from so-called artisanal miners, also known by the French word creuseur.
There's been progress. So, when we started, doing due diligence on your cobalt supply chain was not common. Now, what you find is that it's accepted in international forums, it's seen as something that needs to be done.
And using companies like Apple, for example, have been vocal about vetting their supply chain and making sure that their cobalt comes from companies that have mined in an ethically sound way. I think that our reporting shows that that's very difficult to actually know for sure.
Umicore has been a world leader in cobalt products.
Belgian chemical giant Umicore makes battery materials that end up in Apple and Samsung products, among others. It states on its website that it has sourced cobalt responsibly for more than a decade.
We aim to ensure that no unethically mined cobalt enters our process.
But this open pit worked by thousands of independent miners is owned by a local mining company called Chemaf that says it sells cobalt to Umicore. People work in bare feet with little or no safety equipment. Umicore's senior vice president, Guy Etier, denied that any of the cobalt it buys from Chemaf comes from Mutoshi. Apple lists Umicore as a supplier on its website, but declined to comment on Chemaf. Samsung confirmed that some of the cobalt it buys from Chemaf comes from Mutoshi, and third-party audits are planned for the end of the year. At the Mutoshi mine site, there appeared to be no child miners, one of the major points of the Amnesty International report.
They had said that they'd cleared out children a few months before, and we didn't find any working on the mines there.
Chemaf also told the Wall Street Journal that it plans to invest in safety and monitoring. Meanwhile, thousands of people continue to work here to support their families in one of the only ways available to them. That's why advocates and stakeholders emphasize that they are looking for ways to improve conditions in these kinds of cobalt mines, not shut them down.
One of the things we worry about is the stigmatization of artisanal mining. The idea that in and of itself it is a bad thing and you can't source ethical cobalt from artisanal mines, which is not right.
We see as a result of the livelihood impact that it's having, it's worth kind of trying to better as opposed to trying to somehow shoo away. It's not going to go away if you look at poverty statistics in the Congo.
The workers at the depot where ore is tested wore uniforms and helmets. But the vast majority of miners observed on a recent visit by the Wall Street Journal had no protective equipment. And their concerns go beyond safety and lack of basic services like water and medical care. They say Chemaf controls the equipment that determines the value of the ore they deliver to its depot. And since most of the workers cannot afford smartphones, they can't track cobalt prices.
They weren't really ever sure if they were getting a fair deal.
Chemaf says it provides the fairest and most competitive prices possible. In July, the audit firm RCS Global launched a pilot program in Congo aimed at helping companies keep track of the conditions at official mine sites. In these recent clips provided by RCS, independent monitors can be seen at an artisanal mine that supplies China's largest cobalt company, Huayu Cobalt, which says it has implemented a system to better manage its supply chain.
Where I have a field agent who is busy collecting data with a smartphone-based application.
RCS Global says it plans to publish its findings based on anonymized data from across multiple mining operations.
It's not necessarily about giving a company a pass or a fail.
The goal is to keep track of whether or not the situation on the ground is changing.